The first thing Marcus Jalen noticed when he woke up was that someone had removed his shirt. The second thing he noticed was that he wasn't on Earth. He sat up slowly, blinking against the harsh blue light that filled the room like a hospital's, but colder, more clinical. The walls were smooth and curved, pale green with no visible seams or corners. A low hum vibrated through the floor beneath his bare feet, rhythmic and constant. "Subject is conscious," said a voice. It wasn't human. It was synthesized, like a machine trying to imitate calm authority. But it wasn't coming from speakers. It was coming from something standing in the room. Marcus turned his head, and his breath stuck in his throat. The creature was tall, at least 8 feet, its skin a muted violet with long arms and a narrow torso. Its eyes were large, dark, and unblinking, set into a flat, emotionless face. It wore some kind of metallic harness across its chest and one thin band circling its head. Marcus swallowed hard. "Where am I?" he asked. His voice cracked with dryness. "Who are you?" The alien didn't answer. Instead, it tilted its head and pointed toward Marcus's left shoulder. "You sustained extensive dermal trauma, multiple lacerations. You were stabilized." Marcus looked down. His left shoulder bore the same thing it had for the last 12 years, a raven tattoo with outstretched wings across his collarbone. Its ink was slightly faded, but unmistakable. "That's not a wound," he said. The alien paused. "Explain." "It's a tattoo. Ink under the skin. It's art, not an injury." The creature didn't respond right away. It turned and walked toward a panel embedded in the wall, where it pressed something Marcus couldn't see. A low chime sounded. Another alien entered. Slightly shorter, rounder, with a softer gait. Its voice was more neutral. "You say this is not a wound?" Marcus nodded. "It's permanent. Decorative. Humans do that." The two aliens exchanged glances. The first one approached him again. "You have more of these?" Marcus sighed and nodded. "Yeah, a few." He hesitated, then slowly turned his back to them, revealing the coiled dragon on his right shoulder blade, and the quote curving beneath it, "Fortune favors the bold." The second alien stepped closer, examining the text. "This is a phrase. It is not your language. It's Latin, an old Earth language. It's for inspiration." The taller alien stepped back. "Your people inflict injury on themselves for inspiration?" "No," Marcus said. "It's not an injury. It's carefully done. There are artists who specialize in it. You pay for it. It's a personal choice." The room was quiet for a moment. The low hum continued. Marcus shifted uncomfortably. His side ached. He looked down and noticed a bandage just above his ribs. "What happened to me?" "You were found unconscious on the perimeter of the Digari zone. The atmospheric pressure there is unstable. Your body was under stress. We intervened." Marcus frowned. "Digari? That must be where the ravine was. I fell?" The shorter alien nodded. "You suffered mild internal bruising, a dislocated wrist, and a concussion. You have been unconscious for 3 Earth days." He rubbed his forehead. "No wonder my head feels like cement." The taller alien still stared at his tattoos like they were bleeding. "We believed your body was covered in ritualistic trauma. We were concerned your species was being subjected to torture." Marcus laughed weakly. "Nah, just an ex-girlfriend's idea of romance." Neither alien responded. "I'll need my clothes back," he added. "Your garments were removed for medical evaluation," said the taller one. "They are being sanitized." A third alien entered, this one carrying a tray with a thin metallic robe. It handed it to Marcus wordlessly and left. He took it, unfolded it, and wrapped it around himself. It felt like wearing aluminum foil. He sat back down on the curved platform that served as a bed. "So," he said, "is this some kind of research station?" The shorter alien spoke. "You were aboard the observation vessel Enthus. You were extracted for medical purposes. Your presence here was not planned. Marcus leaned forward, elbows on knees. I was hiking with a team. We were surveying caves outside the main colony. I slipped, fell down a slope. You were alone when we found you, the taller one said. That tracked? The others probably went to get help, or thought he'd circled back. He'd been the only one stupid enough to climb the ridge. You will be returned once your condition is stable, the shorter alien said. Marcus nodded. Appreciate it, and thanks for helping me, even if you thought I looked like a crime scene. The taller alien turned to the other again. He does not appear to be in distress. Recommend we continue observation. I can hear you, Marcus said. The shorter one inclined its head. Your physiology is under evaluation. The markings remain troubling. They're not hurting me, Marcus said. They're part of me, like a diary, with pictures. The taller alien approached again. Do other humans have these? Lots do. Not everyone, but it's normal where I'm from. The shorter one paused. We must consult the cultural database. They both exited the room, leaving Marcus alone. He sighed and lay back down, head spinning from the conversation. His wrist throbbed faintly, wrapped in some kind of flexible brace. The concussion explained the fog, but he could think clearly enough. Tattoos mistaken for injuries, first contact, and they thought he'd been tortured. At least they hadn't tried to remove them. Hours passed. He was given water and a bland paste that passed for food. He asked questions, got few answers. The taller alien returned the next day, with a small screen showing diagrams of human anatomy and highlighted images of tattoos from Earth's media database. You are not anomalous, it said. These images confirm the occurrence of dermal ink. Glad to be vindicated, Marcus muttered. The alien tilted its head. Would you allow us to document yours? He hesitated. Why? For classification. He nodded. Fine, but no touching. A projection device was brought in. Marcus stood as it scanned his body, cataloging each tattoo with eerie precision. The raven, the dragon, the Latin quote, the compass on his calf, even the tiny initials on his inner bicep from when his brother died. As the machine scanned, the taller alien watched with something approaching fascination. Each design has meaning? Marcus nodded. Most of them. Some are just reminders, moments I didn't want to forget. We do not alter our outer form, the alien said. Our identities are internal. That's true for us too, Marcus replied. But sometimes showing it makes it more real. You put your story on your skin, it stays with you. The alien was quiet for a long moment. Then, we assumed all external damage was involuntary. We did not consider voluntary modification. It's not damage, Marcus said. It's deliberate. The alien nodded slowly. Your species is difficult to categorize. I get that a lot. He was returned to the medical bay, where his wrist was scanned again. The dislocation had been treated with some kind of regenerative pulse, but he'd need a real orthopedic consult once back at the colony. 3 days later, with his bruises healing and the fog lifting from his head, Marcus was guided to a small room near the docking bay. The same 2 aliens were present. You are cleared for return, the shorter one said. Marcus stood, now dressed in his own clothes again, cargo pants, boots, and the black t-shirt that hadn't fared well in the fall. He looked at them. So, what will you do with what you learned? The taller alien spoke. We will adjust our assumptions. Your species exhibits a high tolerance for self-inflicted pain in pursuit of meaning. That's one way to put it. The shorter one added, your markings will be cataloged under non-pathological dermal alterations. Marcus grinned, glad to be a footnote. The taller alien paused. There is one final request. Marcus raised an eyebrow. Yeah? Would you allow one of our artists to replicate a version of your raven design on synthetic skin for archival purposes? He blinked. You want to copy my tattoo? For study, not replication. He nodded, slowly. Sure, just don't call it a scar. The alien inclined its head. Understood. As the airlock cycled and the shuttle powered up to take him back to the colony, Marcus leaned back and let the seat vibrate beneath him. His side still ached, and he'd need a week or two before field work again, but somehow it felt like something bigger had happened. He'd fallen into a ravine, nearly cracked his skull, and ended up explaining tattoos to an alien race that thought he'd been skinned alive. Not the worst first contact story. As the shuttle disconnected and began its descent, he looked down at the raven inked across his chest. Still there. Still flying, and now apparently part of an interstellar art exhibit. Marcus sat up in the infirmary cot, tugging the collar of his shirt away from the gauze on his ribs. It itched like hell. A thin-limbed alien technician hovered nearby, adjusting the angle of a scanning lens mounted on a flexible stalk. The machine gave a warbling chirp and began cycling through wavelengths, bathing his torso in pulses of green and amber light. Hold still, the technician said without looking at him. Its voice was flatter than the others he'd met, more clipped, like someone running through a checklist. Can I itch it, or does that void the warranty? Marcus asked. The technician blinked once, then resumed scanning. Manual contact with the wound site may cause disruption of the dermal regeneration field. It will cease itching within 2 Earth hours. I'll try to survive the hardship. The technician didn't respond. It tapped something into a portable screen and stepped back, allowing the lens to retract into the ceiling. Marcus swung his legs over the edge of the cot and exhaled slowly. The ache in his ribs had dulled to a manageable throb, but his left wrist still felt like it had been through a meat grinder. The brace they'd applied was more flexible than anything back home, almost like a second skin, but it reminded him with every movement that he'd taken a serious tumble. A tall alien entered, different from the ones he'd met before. This one wore a woven sash in a deep rust color that hung diagonally across its torso. Its eyes were smaller, set closer together, and its skin had a faint, pebbled texture that caught the light. I am Specialist Rithel. You are medically cleared for non-strenuous activity, it said. Marcus reached for his boot and pulled it on with some effort. Great, I'd love to get back to the colony. There is a delay. Atmospheric instability over your region has grounded transports temporarily. He straightened and rolled his shoulder carefully. How long? Less than 1 Earth cycle, possibly fewer than 10 hours. Marcus gave a small nod. Guess I'm still your guest, then. Rithel moved closer, studying his face. You are exhibiting signs of elevated neural activity. I'm bored. Meet the thick layers of ice. I've been horizontal for days, with nothing but beep noises and nutrient paste. I'm running out of ways to count the ceiling tiles. There are no tiles. Exactly. Rithel paused. You may access the observation deck. Movement will aid circulation and assist in the dissipation of cranial pressure. Now you're speaking my language. Rithel gestured toward the corridor. Marcus stood, sore but steady, and followed. They moved through a series of passageways, the walls gently curving and illuminated with a soft internal glow. Other crew members passed by, some walking, others floating on small personal platforms that hummed faintly beneath them. No one stared, but several slowed as he passed. Are there many humans here? Marcus asked. You are the first organic human individual to board the Enthis. He raised his eyebrows. You've had synthetic ones? Rithel didn't answer. They entered the observation chamber. It was a dome, transparent from floor to ceiling, with a panoramic view of the planet below. Storm systems curled across its surface like wet brushstrokes. A thin halo of light marked the edge of the atmosphere. Marcus stepped forward, placing a hand against the cool barrier. Still beautiful, even when it's trying to kill you. Rithel remained behind him. Your species exhibits unusual emotional responses to planetary phenomena. Weather's half the reason we talk to each other. The other half is complaining about it. I have reviewed cultural databases. Your communication rituals are inefficient. Marcus turned around. Yeah, well, we're not exactly known for doing things the easy way. Rithiel approached him, folding its long fingers behind its back. You seem to find discomfort tolerable, even preferable. Depends. Mild discomfort builds character. Major discomfort builds lawsuits. This is difficult for us to model. Marcus leaned against the railing that ringed the central platform. You're trying to model humans? We are developing an adaptive interaction protocol. We require accurate behavioral data. You're building a simulation? Initially. Later, predictive frameworks. He tapped his fingers against the railing. You're going to need a lot more than weird food and body scans. That is why you were invited to this chamber. Marcus narrowed his eyes. You want me to help? Yes. In exchange, we offer full medical optimization, unrestricted access to our educational archives, and priority return to your colony once atmospheric conditions permit. He ran a hand through his hair. What kind of help? We wish to understand your responses to non-lethal stimuli, psychological, sensory, and social. You want to poke me with weird questions and see what happens? Rithiel tilted its head. That is an acceptable summary. Marcus looked back at the planet, then sighed. Fine. But if someone tries to hypnotize me, I'm walking out. No hypnosis will be employed. Good, I'm very suggestible. They guided him to a smaller chamber with a flattened dome ceiling and walls covered in shifting patterns of light. A low platform in the center served as a seat. Rithiel remained beside him while two others entered, one carrying a narrow case, the other adjusting a display screen. We will begin with visual stimuli, Rithiel said. Please describe what you feel. The lights dimmed. The screen lit up with a series of images. A cluttered kitchen with a broken faucet, an empty intersection under a gray sky, a pair of worn-out sneakers on a porch. Marcus squinted. What is this? Human environments, collected via open-source data streams. They look depressing. Do they cause distress? No, they look like Tuesdays. The screen shifted. A burning building. A child crying beside a toppled bicycle. A dog sitting beside an empty dish. Now, Marcus frowned. Still Tuesday, just later in the day. You do not exhibit elevated indicators. I mean, it's sad, but it's not new. We see this stuff all the time. Your species consumes distress as entertainment? Sometimes, depends if we're tired. The images ended. The lights returned to normal. Rithiel turned to the others. Proceed to auditory phase. The next hour involved a barrage of oddities. Overlapping voices in different dialects, snippets of subway announcements, laughter layered over rainfall, the clinking of cutlery. Marcus reacted to some, flinching at a sharp siren, chuckling at a goat bleat, but mostly sat still. You're testing what freaks me out. We are measuring emotional volatility. Good luck. I've been to a family reunion with no air conditioning. The third alien, who hadn't spoken yet, finally stepped forward. Are you experiencing fatigue? Just existential. This is within parameters. The session ended with a biometric scan. A thin coil was placed behind his ear, and a soft pulse passed through his skull. He winced. Standard neural mapping, Rithiel said. It feels like a cold spoon in my brain. You have a high threshold for discomfort. Or I'm just used to people prodding me. By the time they returned him to the infirmary, the lights had dimmed to a soft blue, a sign of the ship's rest cycle. Marcus lay down on the cot, his body sore, but his mind oddly alert. An hour later, a soft chime sounded outside the door. Rithiel entered, holding a thin tablet. There has been a request from our historic preservation unit. About what? They wish to record an interview with you regarding your dermal markings. Didn't you already scan those? They are interested in the context, the creation process, the narrative. Marcus sat up slowly, You want the story behind the ink? Yes. He considered for a moment, then nodded. Fine, but I want real food this time, no more paste. Rithel regarded him for a moment. We will replicate something more aligned with your preferences. And coffee, black, no weird foam. That can be arranged. As Rithel turned to leave, Marcus called out, Hey! The alien paused. Why are you so interested in what we do to ourselves? Rhythm looked at him carefully. Because your species transforms pain into memory, and memory into identity. That is a form of resilience we do not yet understand. Marcus leaned back, eyes on the ceiling. Well, he said, pull up a chair. The room smelled faintly of antiseptic and something else, like ozone after a lightning strike. It wasn't unpleasant, just strange. The walls had subtly changed color since Marcus had last been in the chamber, now tinted with a pale ochre hue that pulsed slightly every few seconds, like a slow heart. Rithil stood beside the low platform where Marcus sat cross-legged, a tray balanced across his lap. The food was, to Marcus's surprise, edible. A compact square of dense protein, a pile of translucent slices that resembled pickled pear, and a flat disc that tasted vaguely like roasted barley. A steaming mug of dark liquid sat beside it. Not quite coffee, but close enough for now. This isn't bad, Marcus said between bites. Little chewy, but I've had worse. We adapted it from your colony's emergency rations manifest, with adjustments for biocompatibility. Smart. You don't want to give me calcium oxalate poisoning. Rithel didn't blink. That compound causes crystal aggregation in renal structures, which is why I avoid spinach smoothies. The preservation specialist entered without ceremony, its skin darker than the others Marcus had seen, almost slate gray. It wore a metallic band across its shoulders, etched with symbols that shimmered faintly under the ceiling lights. In its elongated hands it carried a thin recording lattice, which it set gently on the table between them. You may begin, it said. We are recording for archival continuity. Marcus set his tray down and wiped his fingers on the cloth provided. You want the stories behind the tattoos, all right? He pulled up his sleeve slightly, revealing a looping strand of ink on his inner forearm. A sequence of simple geometric shapes, like a broken code. This one's from when I was 19. My older brother got it with me, same design, mirrored. We didn't say much about it at the time, it was just something we did after our dad passed. Later we realized we'd both picked the same shapes for different meanings. He thought it looked like a sound wave, I thought it looked like mountain peaks. We never really agreed, but that was kind of the point. The preservation specialist tilted its head. You intentionally embedded ambiguous interpretations? Yeah, well, people aren't exactly straightforward, neither are memories. He rolled his sleeve back down and leaned forward. You want a clearer one? The compass, right thigh. He stood, tugged up the fabric over his leg, and pointed to the simple four-pointed design inked just above his knee. Got this after I left Earth. First off-world assignment. It was supposed to be a reminder to always know where I came from, but the irony is that I got completely lost on the second day of the survey mission, had to be rescued by a drone. So now it also reminds me not to overestimate my sense of direction. Rithil circled slowly as Marcus sat again. Your markings function as both symbolic and corrective memory. That's one way to put it. They're like permanent post-it notes, with better artwork. The preservation specialist adjusted something on the lattice. How is the marking applied? Marcus stretched his arms behind his back to ease the stiffness in his shoulders. He still had dull pain in his ribs, but it was fading. Depends on the method. Mine were done with a coil machine needle. Moves up and down really fast, deposits ink just below the outer layer of skin. You go in layers, depending on the shading. It's not fun, but it's manageable. Some people use hand poking, slower, more traditional. That causes no long-term tissue degradation? If it's done right, no. Infection's the big risk, but if the equipment's sterile and the skin's cleaned properly, it heals like any shallow wound. The preservation specialist glanced at Rithil. Your species voluntarily engages in this process for non-medical purposes. Marcus took a slow sip of the hot drink. We do a lot of things voluntarily that don't make immediate sense. Climbing mountains, running marathons, falling in love. Rithiel remained quiet. The preservation specialist sat on a low stool, adjusting the lattice again. What of the image on your back? It asked. Marcus hesitated. The dragon? He nodded. That one's complicated. The room was silent, save for the soft hum of the ventilation. I got it after a recovery mission. There was a cave-in on one of the mining moons. We were supposed to be pulling out workers. It didn't go as planned. We lost a few people. One of them was a guy I didn't even know that well, but he passed me his oxygen mask when mine failed. I made it out. He didn't. He leaned forward, elbows on knees. I kept seeing fire in my sleep after that. Debris, suffocation, the works. The dragon wasn't about power or mythology or whatever. It was about breathing again, about honoring the guy who gave me his last breath. Neither alien spoke for a moment. You use symbols to process grief, Rithiel said finally. To process a lot of things. We don't always fix what breaks. Sometimes we just draw around it. The preservation specialist stood. We have enough for the archive. Marcus reached for the rest of his drink. Glad I could help confuse your entire cultural division. You have not confused us, Rithiel said. You have added variables. That's the nicest thing anyone said to me today. Later, after the room had emptied and the tray had been taken away, Marcus walked the corridor outside the observation deck. The walls here shimmered slightly with embedded threads of soft light, pulsing in a rhythm that reminded him of tidal patterns. He stopped beside a viewport. The storm system over the colony had finally broken. The stratosphere was clearing in wide spirals, revealing the pale green terrain below. Rithiel joined him, silent at first. Transport readiness is confirmed, it said eventually. You may return within 1 Earth hour. Marcus nodded. I should probably let someone know I'm alive. Your colony received a signal relay 2 days ago. They were informed. He turned slightly. Did you tell them I was being studied like an art exhibit? That was not included. They stood together in silence. Below, the planet turned slowly, its surface calm now, at least for the moment. I've been thinking, Marcus said. Your people don't alter your appearance at all? We do not. External form is not associated with personal identity. Strange. For us, it's the opposite. Not just tattoos, clothes, hair, posture. We're always shaping how we're seen. That is inefficient. Maybe, but it's also how we stay sane. Rithiel tilted its head slightly. You find stability in variation. Yeah, consistency's great until it becomes a cage. The transport dock was quiet when he arrived. The shuttle was smaller than the one that had brought him up, designed for short descents. A single pilot, a wide-eyed being with translucent skin, nodded as Marcus approached. Rithiel followed him to the ramp. You are unlikely to be the last human visitor to this vessel, it said. I hope not, but maybe give the next one a heads up about the food texture. Had noted. Marcus paused before stepping inside. Hey, one last thing. You said earlier that you were documenting our responses, building predictive models? Yes. You might want to throw out the algorithms. We don't really follow patterns when it matters. We have adjusted expectations. Good, because if you ever figure us out completely, that probably means we stopped being human. Rithiel didn't reply. The ramp began to retract. As the shuttle lifted away from the Enthus, Marcus watched the vessel shrink against the stars, its shape blending into the blackness like a distant thought. Below, the colony lights flickered into view, small, stubborn dots of warmth against the vast green curve of the planet. He leaned back in his seat, hand resting lightly over the healed wound at his side. He'd come back with bruises, a busted wrist, and a few new stories etched deeper than ink. Not bad, for a hike that was supposed to last 4 hours. And somewhere in the archives of a species that didn't decorate their skin, A dragon now coiled quietly in a digital vault, misunderstood. Maybe. But not forgotten.